I'm Jack Wood, and I'm reporting for Enemies in Conversation series, and I'm talking to Sam from Greta Van Fleet, and we're expecting Josh, right? We're expecting Josh at some point.
Theoretically.
Well, the new album, The Battle at Gardens Gate, is your second album after, obviously, An Anthem of a Peaceful Army. And it's the second, that album has such a great critical acclaim. You've won a Grammy Award. Was there any nervousness for releasing this second album?
Not even a little bit, no. I think that's just because we felt like we were evolving, and we felt we were getting kind of too far in our own direction to have other people steering our ship for us. So I think it was really liberating, and it felt like a free album. Like we can really do whatever we want. We are free. We possess the ability to create whatever we want in this space. And I think we knew exactly what we were going to do. We were going to make a album that's big and unfuckwithable. Right? You can't really say anything about the Battle at Gardens Gate that would draw negative comparisons to, say, Led Zeppelin, or you just draw anything. I think it's 110% Greta Van Fleet, and I think this is kind of in a lot of ways our coming of age record.
Would you say this? So this is more Greta Van Fleet than anything else that's been released?
I would say so, yeah.
Wow. And in a few different interviews, you described it as like a cinematic experience. It's like an expanse. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think it's really, bottom line, it's kind of like the soundtrack to a movie that just hasn't been made yet. The album itself is the movie.
Oh, wow.
That is kind of the cinematic aspect of the whole thing. We went into this record thinking we want to make something that's widescreen because that's our favorite stuff, like the Hans Zimmer and the Ennio Morricone and John Williams and everything in between. But cinema is just the biggest sound, and we've always been such a big fan of that.
So has there been any like films you'd say that could have inspired this album?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that a lot of Westerns, especially The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, 2001: A Space Odyssey. I think this record is actually very inspired by film. I think it's inspired by a lot of kind of perhaps futuristic ending movies. I don't want to say sci-fi, but
it does have a dystopian element to it. This latest album, it does seem to be like we're all in this together, and we've got to kind of do what we can. There's a lot of hope, but there's a lot of sort of fear in the album, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think we really have to go to the very end of the world to really explain to people and show people like what that is and why we should be afraid of it and why we should be careful always as a society moving forward.
And well, in a way, that's so strange then that it's dropped. Of all the times you could have dropped an album like that, you drop it in the midst of a pandemic. I mean, you were writing it, I believe. Did you start writing in 2019?
Yeah, it was before that any of this kicked in. We started recording a year before the pandemic took control.
But yeah, it feels so at home in like nearly describing what we're all feeling right now, which is that we are so far apart yet so together, connected in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the timing was perfect on the record. Really.
What's this fuss about? What's
Oh,
fuss
God.
About? What's happening?
Oh,
Well, there we go.
What's going on here, huh?
That's how you make a dramatic entrance.
Oh,
There we go. Josh, thank you so much for joining.
yes. Well, thank you for having me. It's good to be here. It's good to be here. Right.
Oh, well, we were just talking about how the album is inspired by cinema. Are there any particular films you'd say that would have inspired the album for you?
Probably quite a bit on some kind of subconscious level, but nothing really nothing in the forefront of my mind. I think we just kind of wanted to score a movie, and I think the movie kind of ended up being The Battle at Gardens Gate. It's kind of the way we look at it. But Kubrick had a big influence. I love that sort of obsessive symmetry and that lens, and And so that's kind of what the visual of it, kind of thinking of that world was. And there was a bit of science fiction elements to it, which I'm sure Jake would attack me for saying.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to be careful with that one.
I'm sure it's kind of like, it's there a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. Just I think an absolute Kubrick freak. So I think probably borrowing from a lot of that stuff. But ultimately, no, I think it just kind of was this vision that we would make sort of a bit of a world. So we did some world building, but that only started to happen probably midway through writing the album, because it was kind of the groundwork was laid and we knew where we were going.
I think it's one of those situations where the music kind of tells you, you kind of find the music, and then then you know what you're working with.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a dramatic start to the album with Heat Above, which we've obviously heard for a while now as one of the singles. It's incredible. What I like most is that it seems to have a connection to the last album, because you mentioned once more, is a peaceful army joining the band. Is this a continuation? You wanted it to be like nearly like a follow through from album one?
Yeah, it is a bit of an extension or of an evolution of Anthem of the Peaceful Army. I think we're expanding or evolving on that world a little bit. And it does kind of exist as some sort of like parallel universe, so that we can kind of use that platform to create illusions and toy with concepts. There's a lot of analogies and symbology, and so I think that was the platform that we kind of tried to create, and that's just it, I think. And then of course this is a much more adult like album. I think it's kind of, there's a bit of depth of innocence inside of the album. It's a bit heavier. So it's like there is then this peaceful army, and then it's time to go to war, kind of, in a way. And so then you play with themes like war, and then it's war of a religion, war of industry of war, and so on and so on.
Yeah, you mentioned religion. I mean, was it a conscious decision to kind of start the album with quite a biblical organ sound? Like, it's quite dramatic to go straight in and be like, look, this is it, this is our statement. Or was that just something that happened to happen?
I think it kind of just happened. That was the Heat Above was a song we'd written 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So we didn't think it suited the essence of the previous albums. So it was most appropriate when we sort of pulled it off the shelf and dusted it off a bit for this album. And that intro was there, and I think after just sort of starting to put the album together and having our tracks down that we were arranging, we thought, well, that would be a perfect intro, because it's almost like it's just traveling through time and space, right through the middle eye into the gate, boom, opening up the world. You remove a lot of the foreplay and get right to it.
I think Heat Above really is kind of the definition of a first track. Kind of the defining of an album.
Hopefully.
It's kind of like the finale at the beginning.
Well, it's cyclical in nature then, the album, in a way then, so it's constantly on a loop, which is a beautiful thing to happen. You performed Heat Above recently on, was it the Colbert Late Show? And
yeah,
that's up on your YouTube. I have to say, it's stunning outfits, guys. Stunning outfits.
I'm still wearing it.
Yeah, there's a lot of white imagery, but the white jumpsuit you were wearing on that, Josh, was incredible. Was that a worry when you were going to the bathroom at any point that things could go wrong?
Drinking your red wine.
Yeah, so drinking red wine in the dressing room is probably you want to give the stylist a heart attack. That's how you do it. It's very entertaining. And then you run around the room and they chase after you and you laugh like a little girl. It's good. You need a catheter. If you're going to wear a jumpsuit, you need a catheter. No. It zips in the back. So anyway, it's fun imagery. No, white was kind of that. I think just there was something angelic about the song, and it just seemed pristine, in a way. And it was kind of clean. It was like a newborn or something, like an infant. So we thought, well, that would be really good to just kind of go that route, And
also at that moment, we really felt that we were coming into a new age. We had a change of office. We had a bright outlook moving forward in this pandemic that's happening. And we really wanted to show rebirth and to be born again and to, take all the mistakes that we've learned moving forward, we have this clean white palette to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love a good metaphor, and this is powerful stuff, guys. And you also have your own, like, I mean, is it rock and roll to have your own candle as well, called the Heat Above, which is lovely. What's the scent of that candle?
Of course.
It smells like Josh.
No, I didn't choose the scent of the can. I don't think any of us did.
What would have been the scent to represent the album then?
I don't know, something rather earthy, probably, like patchouli. Would be kind of, it's a bit of a stench to it, you know.
Frankincense and gold.
Like, yeah, it would be frankincense and gold. I like that. Some myrrh in there.
So you're writing this album. It sounds like you've had this stuff penned for a long time, but like I know that you went for Age of the Machine, which is a really powerful, hard-hitting tune. You actually wrote that. Did you go like away into like some cabin in some woods to write that?
That's actually exactly what we did.
We did for that track, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Age of Machine was written pretty quickly too, within a few days for such a
Extensive song.
and arranged in a very complex way. We tried a lot of different stuff with the track, but we landed on something that was very, very different, and that's why we all loved it so much. And also, it metaphorically brings you into this light and this hope. On the chorus, some people call it a bridge because it comes so deep into the song.
Yeah.
Call it whatever you want it, but I think it also is the story. It tells the story, and it is the story.
I know that you guys are quite into philosophy and things like that. It's a bit Matrix. It's a bit like Plato's cave theory, like the shadows on the wall. Is that what you like trying to take down, like talk about society in a way? Do you feel like technology is too present at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly dystopian, and it is borrowing from a lot of that, you know, probably pretty early stuff. But I think kind of a lot of the like Orwellian or Huxley or those kind of worlds, I think for certain, you know. But yeah, it's really just tackling this idea that we as a human race are in an age of automation. It's a very technological world that's constantly becoming or rapidly becoming more and more technological. It's kind of wild, but that's what there's this sort of this moment in time where they were like, oh, okay, so this is definitively some kind of technological revolution that's going on. Things are going to change. And then you start seeing younger people who are plugged into this sort of this a lot. I mean, there's some sort of, I don't want to say death of identity, but there's some sort of the concern of losing original thought, you know, and that kind of thing was concerned. So then, of course, there's the chorus, which sort of breaks it open and says that, you know, being trapped or attached to permanently anything is kind of an illusion, and that you can break free of that and unplug from the source. So it's kind of, there's some hope in that song.
So do you guys, as a band, are you never glued onto your phones? Is that not something that you lot have ever been interested in any way?
Phones I loathe.
Really?
And I'm terrible. And I'm quite terrible with it. Generally, I mean, I do have my phone now, which is great.
Yeah.
But that's very rare that that's the case. I thought I'd be transparent about that.
So you've never got like addicted to any app or anything like that? Have you ever ventured into like TikTok or anything? Like you're aware of these things?
No. No.